A racist teacher humiliates a black student for his Halloween costume idea, unaware of who is watching. Jamal Williams sat at his desk in Ms. Turner's history class, his mind swirling with thoughts of Halloween. The classroom buzzed with the low hum of chatter, but his gaze was fixed on the half-finished sketch in his notebook, a portrait of Frederick Douglass, staring resolutely back at him. The image captured Douglass's fierce determination, his strong features a testament to the struggle for freedom and equality. Jamal had always admired Douglass, not just for his contributions to history, but for his relentless fight against injustice. This year, Jamal wanted to honor that legacy by dressing as Douglass for the school's Halloween costume contest. But as he looked around, he felt the familiar knot of anxiety tighten in his stomach. The laughter and lighthearted banter among his classmates felt distant, as if they were in another world. Jamal could already imagine the reactions to his choice, some supportive, but many mocking. After all, Halloween was supposed to be fun, right? Not a history lesson. He could hear the whispers in his head. Why would you pick someone like that? It's Halloween. Ms. Turner's voice cut through his thoughts, pulling him back to reality. All right, class, Halloween is just around the corner, and I want to hear your costume ideas. Remember, this is a fun event, so choose wisely. Her tone was cheerful, but Jamal sensed an undercurrent of judgment lurking beneath her words. He glanced toward the front of the classroom, where she stood with her arms crossed, a disapproving look ready to pounce on anyone who dared to stray from her definition of fun. One by one, his classmates raised their hands, sharing ideas that ranged from classic ghosts to trendy pop culture icons. Each suggestion brought a wave of laughter and excitement, reinforcing the camaraderie in the room. But when Jamal's turn finally arrived, a chill swept through him. He hesitated, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on his chest. Jamal, Ms. Turner called, her eyes narrowing as she scanned the room. What do you have for us? With a deep breath, Jamal decided to push past the fear. I want to dress as Frederick Douglass, he said, his voice steady but soft. The room fell silent for a moment, the air thick with anticipation. Then, the silence shattered as Ms. Turner burst into a laugh, the sound sharp and cutting. Frederick Douglass? Really? You know this is a Halloween costume contest, not a history fair, right? Why would you pick a dead man from a bygone era? Laughter erupted from his classmates, echoing off the walls like a cruel chorus. Jamal felt heat rush to his cheeks, humiliation flooding through him. The laughter stung, each chuckle an arrow aimed at his heart. He had hoped for understanding, perhaps even encouragement. But instead, Ms. Turner's words hung in the air like a dark cloud smothering his spirit. Come on, Jamal, you can do better than that, a girl from the back teased, her voice dripping with mockery. Why not go as something fun, like a vampire or a superhero? You know, something that doesn't involve a history lesson? The class erupted into more laughter, the ridicule making Jamal feel small and insignificant. He looked down at his sketch, the pencil lines blurring as tears threatened to spill. A part of him wanted to shrink away, to hide under his desk and escape the derision. But another part of him, one that had been nurtured by the stories of Douglass's courage, urged him to stand tall, to reclaim his voice. Frederick Douglass was a vital part of our history, Jamal managed to say, his voice quivering but rising above the noise. He fought for freedom and equality for all people. Dressing as him is important to me. The words tumbled out, fueled by a mix of anger and passion. Ms. Turner crossed her arms, her expression hardening as she replied, That's all well and good, but this is about having fun, not making a statement. You're missing the point. Her dismissal was final, and the laughter continued, wrapping around Jamal like a suffocating blanket. As Ms. Turner moved on to the next student, Jamal's heart raced. He felt exposed, stripped of his dignity. The laughter of his classmates faded into a dull roar, and he struggled to focus on the rest of the announcements. All he could think about was the way Ms. Turner had belittled him in front of everyone, her words echoing in his mind. Was it really wrong to want to celebrate someone who had fought for justice? Did that not deserve recognition, especially in a world still fraught with inequality? When the bell rang, signaling the end of class, Jamal remained rooted in his seat, staring blankly at his notebook. Students filed out, their laughter lingering in the hallways, but he couldn't bring himself to move. His heart ached with the weight of disappointment, not just in Ms. Turner, but in the system that allowed such ignorance to thrive. As the classroom emptied, Jamal finally stood, clutching his notebook tightly. He glanced at Ms. Turner, who was now reviewing papers at her desk, seemingly unfazed by the havoc she had wreaked. For a moment, he considered saying something more, perhaps confronting her outright, sharing how her words had cut deeper than she realized. But the thought of further humiliation held him back. Instead, he walked out of the classroom, determined to find solace elsewhere. The hallway was bustling with students, but Jamal felt isolated in the crowd. He navigated through the throng, his heart heavy. Just as he reached the exit, he spotted his best friend, Malik, waiting by the lockers. Malik had always been a pillar of support, a steady voice of encouragement when Jamal felt weighed down by the world. "Hey man, what's up?" Malik called out, his face brightening when he saw Jamal. Jamal forced a smile, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Not much. Just, class stuff." Malik raised an eyebrow, sensing something was off. "You sure? You look like someone just kicked your puppy." Jamal chuckled, but it felt hollow. "Ms. Turner kind of went off on me today." "What happened?" Malik asked, concerned. Jamal hesitated, unsure if he wanted to relive the moment, but the warmth of Malik's friendship encouraged him to share. "I wanted to dress up as Frederick Douglass for Halloween, and she laughed at me in front of everyone, said it wasn't fun." Malik's expression shifted to one of disbelief. "What? That's messed up. Douglass is a legend. Why would she say that?" "I don't know," Jamal sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I thought it would be a cool way to celebrate my culture and honor someone important, but she made it seem like I was being ridiculous." Malik shook his head, anger flashing in his eyes. "That's total bull, man. You should be proud of who you want to represent. Don't let her get to you." Jamal appreciated Malik's words, but the sting of humiliation lingered. "It's just hard, I thought maybe this year would be different." "Let's do something about it," Malik suggested, determination evident in his voice. "We can come up with a plan to show everyone why Douglass matters. Maybe even rally some support for you." Jamal's spirits lifted slightly at the idea. "You really think that would work?" "Absolutely. We'll get everyone involved. You can educate them on Douglass and why he's relevant. Let's turn this around." Malik's enthusiasm was infectious, and Jamal felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps standing up for himself wasn't just a dream, but a real possibility. As they walked out of the school together, Jamal felt a sense of urgency building within him. He had a chance to reclaim his voice, to turn humiliation into empowerment. With Malik by his side, he was ready to confront the ignorance that had tried to silence him. The next day, Jamal sat in his room, determined to prepare for his confrontation with Miss Turner. His desk was cluttered with notes and sketches, remnants of ideas swirling in his head like leaves caught in a gust of wind. He needed a plan, a way to articulate his thoughts clearly and passionately. He wanted to show not just Ms. Turner, but his classmates that dressing as Frederick Douglass was more than just a costume. It was a celebration of identity and history. Jamal flipped through the pages of his history textbook, searching for quotes and anecdotes about Douglass that he could weave into his argument. He found a powerful quote that resonated with him. "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." He scribbled it down, knowing it would serve as a cornerstone for his discussion. Later that day, during lunch, Jamal and Malik gathered with a few other friends at their usual table. The cafeteria buzzed with chatter, the smell of pizza and fries filling the air. Jamal felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as he prepared to share his plan with the group. "Okay, guys," Jamal started, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. "I want to talk about my Halloween costume, and I need your help." Malik leaned forward, eager. "Let's hear it." "I'm going to dress as Frederick Douglass," Jamal said, his heart racing. "And I want to make a statement about who he was and why he matters. But I need you all to back me up. I want to educate the class in Ms. Turner." A girl named Kira, who had always been supportive of Jamal, nodded enthusiastically. "That's a great idea. We can help spread the word. Everyone needs to know why he's important." "Exactly," Jamal replied, encouraged by their support. "I want to create a presentation or something. Maybe even have a little history lesson during class. It'll show that Halloween can be both fun and meaningful." A boy named Marcus raised an eyebrow. "But what if Ms. Turner shuts you down again?" Jamal squared his shoulders, determination flooding him. "Then I'll be ready. I'm not going to let her or anyone else belittle me for wanting to honor someone who fought for our rights. As the lunch period wrapped up, they brainstormed ideas, each friend contributing ways to make Jamal's presentation engaging. They discussed visuals, props, and even costumes for those who wanted to participate. The excitement in the air was palpable, and Jamal felt a renewed sense of purpose. The following day in class, as Jamal prepared for the moment he had dreaded and anticipated, he noticed an unexpected presence at the back of the room. The principal, Mr. Howard, stood there observing, his expression unreadable. Jamal's heart raced. Was he there to support Ms. Turner or to monitor her? "All right, class," Ms. Turner began, her tone as cheerful as ever. "Let's hear more costume ideas. Who's next?" One by one, students shared their choices, and Jamal felt the familiar knot of anxiety tighten again. As the bell rang, signaling the end of the period, his chance was approaching. He took a deep breath, his hands clammy but resolute. "Ms. Turner," Jamal called out, standing up. The room fell silent, all eyes shifting to him. "I'd like to share more about my Halloween costume choice." She raised an eyebrow, the corners of her mouth twitching into a smirk. "Oh? You mean Frederick Douglass?" "Yes," Jamal replied, his voice steady. "I understand that Halloween is meant to be fun, but I believe it can also be an opportunity to honor important figures in our history. Douglass was a man who fought against oppression and advocated for equality. He represents strength and resilience, especially for Black Americans." Laughter erupted from a few students, but Jamal pressed on, fueled by the encouraging glances from Malik and Kira, who sat nearby. "On Halloween, I want to educate my classmates about who he was and why his legacy matters. It's not just a costume, it's a statement about honoring our history." Ms. Turner crossed her arms, her expression one of skepticism. "And you believe that dressing as a historical figure is the best way to celebrate Halloween?" "Yes, I do," Jamal replied, his voice gaining strength. "Halloween doesn't have to be just about frivolous costumes. It can be a time to reflect on who we are and where we come from. I want to show that pride in our heritage is something to celebrate." At that moment, the classroom was charged with tension. Jamal glanced at Mr. Howard, who remained at the back, arms crossed, watching intently. He felt a rush of adrenaline as he continued. "I believe that understanding our history is crucial, especially in a world where we still face challenges. Douglass fought for our rights, and I want to honor that struggle." Ms. Turner's eyes narrowed, her demeanor shifting as she prepared to retort. "This is Halloween, not a history lecture. You should focus on having fun rather than trying to educate everyone." Before Jamal could respond, Mr. Howard stepped forward, his voice calm but authoritative. "Ms. Turner, I believe Jamal has a valid point. Celebrating Halloween can indeed include honoring historical figures who have shaped our world. Education and fun are not mutually exclusive." The room fell silent, students exchanging glances, surprised by the principal's unexpected support. Ms. Turner's expression shifted, her confidence wavering as she processed Mr. Howard's words. "Jamal," Mr. Howard continued, "if you'd like to put together a small presentation about Douglass for the class, I think it could be a valuable learning experience for everyone. Your passion is commendable." Jamal's heart raced with a mix of disbelief and excitement. "Really? You mean I can share more about Douglass?" "Yes," Mr. Howard affirmed, nodding. "I encourage you to do so. This is an opportunity for you to educate your classmates and celebrate your heritage." As the bell rang, signaling the end of class, Jamal felt a wave of relief wash over him. The tension had shifted, and now, instead of humiliation, he felt a sense of empowerment. His friends rallied around him, congratulating him on his courage and the principal's support. "See, I told you we could turn this around," Malik exclaimed, grinning widely. "Yeah, man, you were amazing," and Kira added, her eyes sparkling with excitement. And Jamal smiled, gratitude swelling in his chest. He realized that he wasn't alone in this fight. With his friends by his side, he had the power to reclaim his narrative and celebrate his identity. As they walked out of the classroom, Jamal felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't just dressing up as Frederick Douglass. He was stepping into the role of an educator, ready to inspire his classmates and challenge the misconceptions that had plagued him. The upcoming Halloween contest was no longer just an event. It was a platform for change, a chance to honor his heritage and stand tall in the face of adversity. The days leading up to Halloween felt electric for Jamal. Each afternoon, he gathered with Malik, Kira, and a few other friends in the library after school to work on the presentation. They transformed a corner of the room into their own creative workshop, surrounded by books and laptops. Jamal felt a sense of camaraderie that he hadn't experienced in a long time, and he relished the support of his friends as they brainstormed ideas and crafted visuals for his presentation. Okay, so what if we create a slideshow with some of Douglas's most famous quotes? Malik suggested one day, tapping away at the keyboard. Like the one about education. It is the path from slavery to freedom. That'll hit home. Definitely, Jamal agreed, his excitement bubbling over. And we can include some historical context about his life, how he escaped slavery and became a leading voice for abolition. Kira chimed in, what if we also made some posters to hang around the classroom? Something colorful that grabs attention. We could even include images of Douglas in his iconic attire. Jamal's heart swelled with gratitude. Their collaborative effort felt like a small revolution in itself, a testament to friendship and shared purpose. Together, they were transforming a painful experience into a powerful educational moment. As they worked late into the afternoon, Jamal felt a mix of nerves and anticipation. Each day brought him closer to the presentation, and he was determined to make it impactful. The more he learned about Douglas, the more he felt connected to his legacy. It was as if Douglas's spirit was guiding him, reminding him of the importance of resilience in the fight for justice. On the day of the presentation, Jamal arrived at school early, his heart racing with anticipation. He wore a crisp white shirt and a dark vest that resembled the attire of Douglas, completing the look with a borrowed bow tie from Malik. As he stood in front of the mirror, he straightened his tie, feeling a surge of confidence. Today was his chance to convey his message, and he was ready. As Jamal entered Ms. Turner's classroom, he noticed the tension in the air. Students were already seated, their chatter dying down as they took in his appearance. He caught Malik's eye, who gave him an encouraging thumbs up from the back of the room. The familiarity of the classroom felt different today. It was charged with potential, and Jamal was determined to seize it. Ms. Turner stood at the front, her expression unreadable. All right, class, we have a special presentation today, she announced, her tone clipped. Jamal has decided to share some thoughts on his costume choice for Halloween. Let's give him our attention. Jamal took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every eye in the room on him. He stepped forward, the nervous energy in his chest transforming into determination. Thank you, Ms. Turner, he said, his voice steady. Today, I'd like to talk about Frederick Douglass and why he is important, not just for Halloween, but for all of us. He clicked the remote in his hand, and the first slide appeared on the screen. A powerful image of Douglas alongside the quote, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress." Jamal glanced around the room, noticing a mix of expressions among his classmates: curiosity, skepticism, and a hint of admiration. He pushed past any lingering doubts, focusing on the message he wanted to convey. Frederick Douglass was born into slavery, but escaped to become a leading voice for abolition and equality. Jamal began, his pulse quickening. He fought tirelessly for the rights of Black Americans and believed in the power of education. He once said, "Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave." As Jamal spoke, he saw heads nodding and some students shifting in their seats, engaged in what he was saying. It felt exhilarating to share Douglas's story, to breathe life into the struggles that many still face today. He shared anecdotes from Douglas's life, detailing how he learned to read and write in secret, how he traveled across the country advocating for emancipation, and how he inspired countless others to join the fight for justice. Dressing as Douglas for Halloween is not just about wearing a costume, Jamal continued, his voice gaining strength. It's about honoring our history and recognizing the struggles that people like him faced for our freedom. It's a reminder of how far we've come and how far we still need to go. The classroom was silent, the only sound being the click of the slideshow advancing to the next slide, which displayed images of Douglas speaking to large crowds. Jamal could feel the shift in the atmosphere, the tension that had once filled the room slowly dissipating as curiosity took its place. But as he reached the climax of his presentation, Ms. Turner's expression shifted. She frowned, arms crossed tightly. Jamal, while I appreciate your enthusiasm, I still believe that Halloween is meant for fun. We don't need to turn it into a history lesson. Jamal's heart sank momentarily, but he refused to back down. I understand that, Ms. Turner, but I believe that history can be fun. Learning about our past and celebrating it can empower us. We shouldn't shy away from who we are or where we come from. Just then, Malik stood up from the back of the classroom, his voice ringing out with confidence. I think what Jamal is saying is really important. We all celebrate Halloween in different ways, and honoring someone like Douglas is a way of showing pride in our culture. Plus, it can inspire us to learn more about our history. The classroom buzzed with murmurs of agreement, and Jamal felt a surge of hope. It was becoming clear that his friends were ready to stand by him, to support him in this moment of vulnerability. Ms. Turner's face tightened. That's all well and good, but I still don't think it belongs in a Halloween costume contest. Before Jamal could respond, Mr. Howard interjected, stepping forward once more. I think this discussion is valuable, Ms. Turner. Halloween should celebrate diversity, and allowing students to express their heritage through costumes can foster understanding and respect. The principal's support sent a ripple of excitement through this classroom, and Jamal felt a sense of vindication. This was no longer just about his costume. It was about creating a space for dialogue and understanding. As the presentation wrapped up, Jamal opened the floor for questions. Students began raising their hands, eager to engage with the material. The questions ranged from Douglas's influence on civil rights to the importance of education in combating systemic oppression. Each inquiry reinforced the importance of the discussion, illuminating the shared desire to learn and grow as a community. As the bell rang, signaling the end of class, Jamal felt a rush of exhilaration. He had seized the moment, turning an act of humiliation into a powerful platform for education and affirmation. His friends surrounded him, their excitement palpable. You did it, man! That was incredible! Malik exclaimed, clapping him on the back. Seriously, Jamal, you were amazing, Kira added, her face glowing with pride. Jamal beamed, the weight of his earlier humiliation lifting. Thanks, guys. I couldn't have done it without your support. As they filed out of the classroom, Jamal felt lighter, more confident. He had confronted his fears and stood tall in the face of adversity. Today marked a turning point, not just for him, but for everyone who had supported him. He was ready to embrace Halloween, not just as a holiday, but as an opportunity for celebration and education. As Jamal walked down the hallway with Malik and Kira, the excitement from the presentation still buzzed in the air. Students chattered animatedly around them, and Jamal couldn't help but smile at the sense of camaraderie that was forming. For the first time in a long while, he felt empowered, as if he were part of something larger than himself. Did you see the way Ms. Turner's face changed when Mr. Howard backed you up? Malik grinned, nudging Jamal playfully. That was priceless. Seriously, it was like she didn't know how to react, Kira added, her eyes lighting up. You really made a difference, Jamal. I think people are going to talk about this for a while. Jamal felt a warmth spread through him. I really hope so. I just wanted everyone to understand that history matters, especially when it comes to our identities. Malik nodded, thoughtful. You know, we should keep this momentum going. You should organize a Black History Month event in February. If people are this interested now, imagine how much more we could do then. The idea sparked something inside Jamal. That would be amazing. We could feature presentations, art, maybe even performances. It would be a great way to celebrate our culture. Count me in, Malik declared, his enthusiasm infectious. Let's start brainstorming ideas after school. As they reached the cafeteria, Jamal noticed a few students whispering and glancing in his direction. His stomach twisted slightly. He feared it was more laughter at his expense. But as he approached the lunch line, one of the students, a girl named Lila, broke away from her group and approached him. Hey, Jamal, she said, her voice friendly. I just wanted to say I thought your presentation was really cool. I had no idea Douglas did all of that. Jamal blinked in surprise, a smile creeping onto his face. Thanks, Lila. I'm glad you found it interesting. Another student from Lila's group chimed in. Yeah, I thought it was awesome, too. It made me think about how we can use Halloween to celebrate our cultures, not just dress up as random characters. Jamal felt a rush of warmth at the unexpected support. Exactly. It's all about expressing who we are and remembering our history. As they chatted, Jamal felt a shift in the atmosphere. The laughter he had feared was replaced by a genuine interest in his ideas. Perhaps his words had not only educated his classmates, but also opened the door for conversations about identity and culture. Later that afternoon, Jamal, Malik, and Kira gathered back at the library, ready to brainstorm ideas for their potential Black History Month event. They spread out a large piece of poster board, jotting down ideas and thoughts. "What if we invited local speakers to talk about their experiences?" Kira suggested, her pen moving quickly. "We could reach out to community leaders or authors." "Definitely, and we could have a display of art that represents Black culture," Malik added. "Maybe even a talent show where students can perform music or poetry that reflects their heritage." Jamal felt a surge of excitement. This was it, the chance to create something meaningful that would resonate with their peers in the community. "We can make this a celebration, not just a presentation. It should be a festival of sorts, with food, music, and art." As they delved deeper into planning, Jamal realized that their ideas were not just about celebrating Black history. They were creating a platform for dialogue and understanding. Each suggestion sparked more ideas, and the energy in the room was infectious. However, as they were brainstorming, the door to the library swung open, and Ms. Turner stepped inside. Jamal's heart sank at the sight of her. He hadn't expected to see her here, and he feared she might come to shut down their enthusiasm. "Good afternoon, students," Ms. Turner said, her tone professional but lacking warmth. "I just wanted to remind you that while I appreciate your passion for history, you must also remember to respect the boundaries of the curriculum." Jamal exchanged glances with Malik and Kira, uncertainty creeping in. "We're just discussing ideas for a potential Black History Month event," Jamal replied, trying to keep his tone neutral. Ms. Turner's eyes narrowed slightly. "That's fine, but I expect you to keep your discussions focused on the curriculum we've outlined. We can't stray too far from the lesson plan." "Of course," Jamal said, feeling deflated, "but we believe that celebrating our history is important, especially for our school community." "I understand that, but we need to ensure that these discussions align with what's being taught in class," Ms. Turner replied, her tone firm. "Remember, education is structured for a reason." Jamal felt a wave of frustration wash over him. He had hoped that Ms. Turner might have reconsidered her approach after witnessing the support he received during the presentation, but instead it seemed she was digging her heels in deeper. "We just want to create a positive space for everyone to learn," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Ms. Turner regarded him for a moment before nodding curtly. "That's admirable, but just be cautious about how you present your ideas. Not everyone will be as receptive as you hope." With that, she turned and left the library, leaving Jamal, Malik, and Kira in an uncomfortable silence. The weight of her words hung in the air, the disappointment palpable. "Don't let her get to you," Malik said, breaking the silence. "You did great in class, and you have the support of the principal. Keep pushing forward with your ideas." Jamal nodded, though doubt lingered in the back of his mind. "I just thought maybe she would understand. It feels like she's trying to stifle our voices." Kira placed a reassuring hand on Jamal's shoulder. "You're making a difference, Jamal. Don't let one person's negativity overshadow the progress you've made. We're all behind you." Feeling bolstered by their support, Jamal took a deep breath and refocused on their planning. "Okay, let's not let Ms. Turner derail us. We can make this event happen, and it will be amazing." With renewed determination, they dove back into their brainstorming session, jotting down ideas and expanding on each other's thoughts. They envisioned a celebration that would not only honor Black history, but also create a sense of community within the school. As they wrapped up for the day, Jamal felt a sense of purpose wash over him. He knew that challenges lay ahead, but he was ready to face them head-on. Together with his friends, he was determined to create something powerful that would resonate with their peers and inspire change. As he left the library, thoughts of the upcoming Halloween celebration fueled his excitement. This was just the beginning, and Jamal was prepared to take on whatever came next. The days leading up to Halloween were a whirlwind of activity for Jamal and his friends. The excitement of their upcoming Black History Month event fueled their energy, but the looming Halloween contest also weighed heavily on Jamal's mind. He felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety, knowing that he would be stepping into the spotlight once again, this time in a costume that represented his heritage. As Halloween approached, the school buzzed with preparations. Students decorated classrooms with cobwebs and skeletons, while others discussed their costume ideas with enthusiasm. Jamal, however, felt a sense of purpose that transcended the typical Halloween spirit. He was determined to make his costume a statement, not just a disguise. On the day of the Halloween contest, Jamal arrived at school early, dressed in his carefully assembled Frederick Douglass costume. The white shirt, dark vest, and bow tie felt like armor, empowering him as he walked through the halls. He could feel the eyes of his classmates on him, some curious, others skeptical, but today, he was ready to face whatever came his way. As he entered the classroom, he was greeted by a mix of reactions. Some students smiled and nodded in acknowledgement, while others whispered among themselves, their expressions a blend of confusion and amusement. Jamal's heart raced, but he held his head high, reminding himself of the importance of his choice. Ms. Turner stood at the front of the room, her expression unreadable. "All right, class, it's time for the Halloween costume contest. I hope everyone is ready to show off their creativity." Jamal felt a surge of adrenaline as he prepared to present himself. He had rehearsed his introduction countless times, wanting to ensure that he conveyed the significance of his costume. As the first few students showcased their costumes, witches, superheroes, and pop culture icons, Jamal felt the anticipation build. Finally, it was his turn. He stepped forward, the room falling silent as all eyes turned to him. "Hello, everyone. I'm Jamal Williams, and today I'm dressed as Frederick Douglass," he began, his voice steady. Frederick Douglass was a former slave who became a leading abolitionist and advocate for equality. He fought for the rights of Black Americans and believed in the power of education. As he spoke, Jamal noticed a few students whispering to each other, their expressions shifting from amusement to curiosity. He pressed on, sharing Douglass's story, his struggles, and his triumphs. Dressing as Douglass is not just about wearing a costume. It's about honoring our history and recognizing the sacrifices made for our freedom. It's a reminder that we must continue to fight for equality and justice. The room was silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Jamal felt a rush of confidence as he saw some students nodding in agreement. He had their attention, and he was determined to make the most of it. But just as he finished his introduction, Miss Turner interjected, her voice sharp. "Jamal, while I appreciate your enthusiasm, I still believe that Halloween is meant for fun. We don't need to turn it into a history lesson." Jamal's heart sank, but he refused to let her words deter him. "Ms. Turner, I understand that Halloween is about fun, but it can also be a time to reflect on who we are and where we come from. Celebrating our history is important, especially in a world where we still face challenges." Before Ms. Turner could respond, Malik stood up from the back of the room, his voice ringing out with conviction. "Jamal is right. We can celebrate Halloween and our culture at the same time. It's not just about costumes. It's about expressing who we are." The tension in the room shifted as more students began to voice their support. "Yeah, we should be able to honor our history," one student called out, and another chimed in, "I think it's cool that Jamal is doing this." Jamal felt a wave of relief wash over him. The support from his classmates was overwhelming, and he realized that he wasn't alone in this fight. Together, they were challenging the status quo, pushing back against the idea that Halloween had to be devoid of meaning. Ms. Turner's expression hardened as she glanced around the room, clearly taken aback by the unexpected turn of events. "This is not how I expected the contest to go," she said, her voice laced with frustration. "I want to remind everyone that we have a curriculum to follow." But Jamal wasn't finished. "Ms. Turner, history is part of our curriculum. It shapes who we are and how we understand the world. We can celebrate Halloween while also honoring those who fought for our rights. It's not an either-or situation." The principal, Mr. Howard, who had been observing from the back of the room, stepped forward. "I think it's important to recognize that students should feel empowered to express their identities, especially in a school setting. Halloween can be a celebration of culture as much as it is about costumes." The room erupted in applause, and Jamal felt a surge of pride. This was a moment of unity, a collective stand against ignorance. Ms. Turner's face flushed with anger, but she remained silent, clearly outnumbered. As the applause died down, Jamal took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "I just want to encourage everyone to think about what their costumes represent. Halloween can be a time for fun, but it can also be a time for reflection and celebration of our diverse histories." With that, he stepped back, allowing the next student to present their costume. The atmosphere in the room had shifted dramatically, and Jamal felt a sense of accomplishment wash over him. He had not only stood up for himself, but had also inspired his classmates to embrace their identities. As the contest continued, Jamal felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had faced his fears and emerged stronger, and he knew that this was just the beginning. The support from his friends and classmates had ignited a fire within him, and he was determined to keep that momentum going. After the contest, Jamal and his friends gathered in the hallway, their excitement palpable. "You were incredible, Jamal," Kira exclaimed, her eyes shining. "I can't believe how many people supported you." "Yeah, man, you really turned the whole thing around," Malik added, clapping Jamal on the back. "I knew you could do it." Jamal felt a wave of gratitude for his friends. "I couldn't have done it without you guys. Your support made all the difference." As they walked toward the cafeteria, Jamal's mind raced with ideas for the upcoming Black History Month event. He wanted to build on the momentum they had created today to ensure that their voices continued to be heard. "Let's start planning right away," Jamal said, determination in his voice. "We need to keep this energy going and make sure everyone knows about the event." "Absolutely. We can start by reaching out to teachers and community leaders," Kira suggested. "We should also think about how to promote it around school." As they brainstormed ideas, Jamal felt a sense of hope and excitement. He knew that challenges lay ahead, but he was ready to face them head-on. With his friends by his side, he felt empowered to create change, to celebrate their heritage, and to inspire others to do the same. As they entered the cafeteria, Jamal noticed a group of students gathered around a table, their expressions animated. Curiosity piqued, he approached them, eager to see what was happening. "Hey, what's going on?" Jamal asked, his interest piqued. One of the students, a girl named Mia, turned to him with a smile. "We're talking about your presentation. Everyone is really impressed, and we're thinking about how we can incorporate more cultural elements into our Halloween celebrations." Jamal's heart swelled with pride. "That's amazing. I'd love to help out in any way I can." As the conversation continued, Jamal realized that the impact of his presentation was spreading beyond just his classmates. It was igniting a movement, a desire for change that resonated throughout the school. The cafeteria buzzed with energy as students gathered in clusters, their conversations swirling around the recent Halloween contest and Jamal's bold presentation. The atmosphere felt electric, charged with a newfound sense of awareness and excitement. As Jamal joined the discussion with Mia and her friends, he was struck by how quickly things had shifted. "I can't believe how many people are talking about your costume," Mia said, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "It's really inspiring. I think we should organize a group to create costumes that reflect our heritage for next year's Halloween." Jamal's heart raced with excitement at the idea. "That would be fantastic. It's so important for us to express our identities and educate about the others at the same time. If we can make it a tradition, maybe we can even get the school involved." Malik chimed in. "We could create a theme for the whole school. Imagine everyone dressing up as historical figures or cultural icons. It would be such a powerful statement." Jamal nodded, envisioning the potential impact. "And we could host a mini exhibition or showcase where students can present the figures they're representing, explaining why they chose them. It could be educational for everyone." As they brainstormed, more students began to gather around, drawn in by the excitement. Jamal felt a sense of purpose swell within him. This was more than just a conversation about costumes. It was a movement. "Let's start planning right now," Kira suggested, her creativity ignited. "We should form a committee to organize everything. We can meet after school and start spreading the word." "I'm in," Mia declared, her enthusiasm contagious. "Let's get as many people involved as possible." As they began to outline their ideas, Jamal felt an overwhelming sense of camaraderie. Students who had previously been indifferent were now eager to participate, their faces lighting up with enthusiasm. He realized that they were all hungry for something more meaningful, something that connected them to their roots. After school, the group convened in the library, armed with notebooks and a sense of purpose. Jamal took the lead, his voice steady and confident. "Okay, everyone, let's start by brainstorming ideas for our event. We need a name, a theme, and a way to promote it." As they worked through ideas, Jamal felt the energy in the room shift. Students were no longer just participating, they were taking ownership of the project. Each suggestion built on the last, creating a tapestry of ideas that reflected their diverse backgrounds and experiences. "What if we call it Heritage Halloween?" Malik proposed. "It captures the essence of what we want to achieve." "I love that," Kira agreed, jotting it down. "And we can create posters that highlight famous figures from different cultures, encouraging everyone to learn about them." As they continued brainstorming, Jamal shared his vision for the presentation. "I think we should have a segment where students can share their stories, why they chose their figures, and what they mean to them. It'll make it personal and relatable." Mia nodded, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "And we could include a performance aspect. Maybe some students can perform poetry or songs that celebrate their cultures." As the group fleshed out their ideas, Jamal felt a surge of hope. They were creating something powerful, a platform for voices that had long been silenced. The realization hit him that this wasn't just about Halloween, it was about identity, pride, and unity. But as they continued planning, doubt began to creep in. Jamal couldn't shake the feeling that Ms. Turner would try to undermine their efforts. "What if Ms. Turner doesn't approve?" he voiced, his concern evident. Malik shrugged, determination etched on his face. "We'll just have to be prepared. If we present it well, how can she say no? We're not just asking for permission, we're making a case for why this is important." Jamal nodded, encouraged by Malik's confidence. "You're right. If we come to her with a solid plan, she'll have to listen. We can frame it as an opportunity for the school to foster understanding and celebrate diversity." As the meeting wrapped up, they decided to schedule a time to present their idea to Ms. Turner and Mr. Howard. Jamal felt a mix of excitement and anxiety, but he was determined to see this through. He had come too far to let fear hold him back now. The following day, Jamal and his friends gathered outside Ms. Turner's classroom, their hearts racing in unison. "Remember, we're all in this together," Jamal reminded them, his voice steady. "We've got a solid plan, and we believe in what we're doing." As they knocked on the door, Jamal took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever lay ahead. Ms. Turner opened the door, her eyes narrowing slightly as she regarded the group. "What do you want?" she asked, her tone clipped. "Ms. Turner, we'd like to discuss an idea for a school event," Jamal said, keeping his voice steady. "We've been inspired by the recent discussions about cultural representation, and we think it would be great to organize an event called Heritage Halloween." Ms. Turner crossed her arms, skepticism apparent on her face. "And what does that entail?" Jamal took a step forward, his heart pounding. "We want to create a celebration that encourages students to dress up as historical figures or cultural icons and share their stories. It's an opportunity to educate each other about our diverse backgrounds while celebrating Halloween." Ms. Turner raised an eyebrow, her expression unreadable. "And you think this is appropriate for a Halloween event?" "Absolutely," Malik interjected. "We believe that Halloween can be both fun and educational. It's a chance for students to express their identities and learn about each other." "And we'd love for Mr. Howard to be involved," Kira added quickly, sensing Ms. Turner's hesitation. "We're confident that he would support this initiative." Ms. Turner's gaze shifted, and Jamal could see the gears turning in her mind. "I'll consider it, but I make no promises." Jamal felt a wave of frustration wash over him, but he remained composed. "We just want the chance to showcase our heritage, Ms. Turner. We hope you'll see the value in it." As they left her classroom, Jamal felt a mix of uncertainty and determination. They had taken a bold step, but he knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges. However, he was ready to face them head-on. Later that evening, Jamal and his friends gathered at his house, excitement mingling with anxiety as they awaited Ms. Turner's decision. They reviewed their plans, ensuring that they were prepared for any questions or objections she might raise. "I just hope she sees the importance of what we're trying to do," Jamal said, his voice tinged with worry. Malik placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "No matter what, we've already made progress. We've sparked a conversation, and that's a victory in itself." As the night wore on, they continued to refine their ideas, fueled by the belief that they could make a difference. Jamal felt a sense of purpose settle within him, a determination to honor his heritage and inspire others to do the same. The next morning, as Jamal entered school, he was met with curious glances and whispers from his peers. The energy in the air was different, charged with anticipation. He couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was about to unfold. The day of the Heritage Halloween event arrived with a palpable buzz of excitement. Jamal felt a mix of exhilaration and nervousness as he entered the school, adorned in his Frederick Douglass costume once again. This time, however, he wore it with a deeper sense of pride. The hallways were decorated with vibrant posters showcasing historical figures and cultural icons, each adorned with quotes and facts that students had worked hard to compile. As Jamal walked through the bustling halls, he caught sight of students dressed in costumes that reflected their heritage. Malik as Martin Luther King Jr., Kira as Maya Angelou, and others representing figures from various cultures. It was a sight that filled Jamal's heart with joy. This was the celebration they had envisioned, a moment where history and identity intertwined in a beautiful tapestry of diversity. When Jamal arrived at the designated space for the event, he was greeted by a wave of enthusiasm. The room was alive with laughter, conversations, and the sounds of music that celebrated different cultures. Jamal's friends were busy setting up booths, each dedicated to a different historical figure or cultural theme. He felt a sense of belonging wash over him. They had created something meaningful together. After the initial mingling, Mr. Howard stood up to address the crowd. "Welcome, everyone, to our first Heritage Halloween. I'm proud of each of you for embracing this opportunity to learn about and celebrate our diverse backgrounds. Today, we honor our history while having fun." The crowd erupted into cheers, and Jamal's spirits soared. He knew that their hard work had paid off, and this event was a testament to their collective efforts. As the festivities began, Jamal moved through the room, engaging with students who were eager to learn about the figures being represented. He found a sense of purpose in sharing Douglass's story, explaining why he had chosen him as his costume. As the afternoon unfolded, Jamal noticed Ms. Turner standing at the back of the room, her arms crossed and her expression difficult to read. The sight sent a pang of anxiety through him. He wondered how she felt watching this event unfold. Would she recognize the value of what they had created? Just then, Ms. Turner stepped forward, her posture rigid. "I'd like to say something," she announced, her voice cutting through the laughter. The room fell silent, all eyes on her. Jamal's heart raced. He braced himself for criticism. "I have watched this event unfold today," she began, her tone serious but lacking the usual edge. "While I may not have agreed with the approach initially, I can see the impact it has had on many of you. You've come together to celebrate your identities, and that's commendable." A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd, and Jamal felt a flicker of hope. "However," she continued, "I still believe there should be a balance between fun and education. I hope that moving forward, we can find ways to incorporate learning into our celebrations without losing the spirit of the occasion." Jamal felt a rush of relief. While she hadn't fully embraced their vision, her acknowledgement felt like a breakthrough. "Thank you, Ms. Turner," he said, stepping forward. "We appreciate your willingness to see the importance of our heritage. We believe that education and celebration can coexist, and we hope to continue this tradition in the future." The crowd erupted into applause, and Jamal felt a wave of support wash over him. This was a moment of unity, a testament to the power of dialogue and understanding. As the event continued, Jamal engaged with students, sharing stories and encouraging them to explore their own histories. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the festivities, Jamal gathered with his friends. They celebrated their success, their bonds strengthened by the journey they had undertaken together. "Today was amazing," Kira said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I can't believe how many people showed up and participated." Malik nodded, pride evident in his voice. "We did this together. I knew from the start that we could make a difference." Jamal felt a swell of gratitude for his friends and the support they had received from their peers. "This is just the beginning," he said, determination in his tone. "We need to keep this momentum going and continue to celebrate our identities, not just during Halloween, but year-round." As the event concluded, students began to pack up their booths, laughter and chatter filling the air. Jamal took a moment to reflect on how far he had come, from the humiliation in Ms. Turner's classroom to standing as a proud representative of his heritage. He had transformed his experience into a catalyst for change, not only for himself but for his entire community. As he walked out of the school that day, Jamal felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was ready to embrace his identity fully, to continue advocating for cultural awareness, and to inspire others to do the same. The journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but he was no longer afraid. He had discovered the strength within himself, and he knew that together with his friends, they could create a brighter future. You've made it to the end. If you enjoyed this story, I am confident that you'll love the next one appearing on the screen now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and please give this video a like. I'll see you in the next one.